Hi, and welcome along to DR Sports. Some really big breaking news following the game yesterday, Manchester City versus Arsenal. You would have remembered in the game, Rodri went down injured and subsequently hobbled off the pitch. Well, the news has come out today that injury is very, very serious. It's an ACL injury and he's going to be out for the season. Really, really big news, AGT. There's a tweet there that I know that you got from David Ornstein, who went out with this one. Also, ESPN reporting it as well. Tell us what he says.
Yeah, it starts off with an alert emoji, so you know that's going to be serious news. He says, Rodri expected to miss significant period with serious knee injury. Manchester City midfielder suffered the problem, as we know, in the draw against Arsenal. Duration not confirmed, Ornstein says, but tests continue. But the 28 Spain international set for a long absence. I mean, we've seen, especially in the women's game actually as well, a lot of ACLs, and obviously in the men's game too. And you're looking at 6 to 8 months at the very best, potentially.
It can be a season-ending. Like you said, there's been a lot of ACL in the women's game that have kept out players like Vivian Miedema and that, Beth Mead for a whole season. And then even last season for my team, Arsenal, it was an ACL injury very similar to this, only in the second game on Jurrien Timber, and that was him. That was him gone for the whole season, and it's a serious injury. It's an injury that takes a long time to recover from. Virgil van Dijk said it, and it's one of those injuries that's always weird because you'll see a player go down, and I was at the game yesterday, and you see a player go down, and it looks a bit, like it's nothing much in it.
Inconspicuous, yeah.
And then next minute, it's that serious and it's off. And you got indications in the game yesterday that this one might be serious because you could see Rodri was in distress. So he already knew that this was going to be a bad one. And this is really, really bad news for Manchester City, particularly when you look at the programme of games they got coming up. And particularly, how ironic is it that it's happened to Rodri, who just last week came out and was saying that players are getting absolutely flogged at the moment, the amount of games that they're having to play, and even suggested that there may be some players that might decide to go on strike because the amount of games that they're playing. Now, Manchester City, of course, will be battling it on all fronts as they're always doing. They've got the Premier League, which you saw how intense that game was yesterday. You've got the Champions League with this new extended format of more games. You've got the World Club Cup that they're going to be playing in at the end of the season as well.
That now as well.
Right, he's going to be out of all the Spain games. I mean, it's absolutely devastating for the player himself. But for Manchester City and their title hopes, it's a big blow.
And I saw a stat yesterday during the game where it said, I think, the games that he missed last season, they lost 4 out of 11. Yeah. That's not... if you're going for the league, that could cost you the league. Those games that you don't win without him. And I think... you saw it with Spain. We're talking about this fella now who might even still win the Ballon d'Or, by the way. Yeah. And, even though he has got this injury.
I think he's got a great
shout for it. He's won the lot this year. So, massive blow for City, for sure. But John Stones, he could probably step up if needed. Kovacic can play there as well. Yeah. So they've got options. Mateus Nunes, who hasn't really had a sniff. He's not really a 6, but... maybe, they could call Calvin Phillips back. The window's open in January. They could go in and get, maybe even Zubimendi might end up there.
Zubimendi could end up there. Now, listen.
The knock-on effects this has, though, for City, as you were saying, but also for Spain, as they try and qualify for the Nations League. They've obviously got probably important World Cup qualifiers to come as well. So it's not just City, it's Spain as well. Yeah, listen,
you talk about options, but let's be real, there is no replacement for Rodri in that team.
He's the best in the world with what he does.
He's the best in the world in that position. Yeah. He's the best in the league at that position. He has been arguably Manchester City's most important player over the last couple of seasons. He's the unsung hero, the work that he does, the ability that he has, the clutch goals, like you said. This, make no mistake about it, is a massive, massive blow for Manchester City. Even if you do go and get, say, a Zubimendi, in January, you still got to get used to the team and stuff like that. Rodri is the heartbeat of this team. You could argue that there couldn't have been a worse injury. You could maybe say Haaland, but it's a massive blow. this is going to be really serious for Pep Guardiola and his title hopes. What does it do? And I know this is a horrible thing to say, and I wish injury on no player.
Yeah, of course.
I really feel sorry for Rodri right now. But what does it do, for if you are an Arsenal fan, as I am, or a Liverpool fan, as you are, does this heighten your chances, even with this one player going down, of the possibilities of going on to win a league?
Like you said, he must be so low right now, and any player that has that injury realises the mental kind of peaks and troughs of the recovery period and what it means to the rest of your career. Do you get back to it? His mind is going to be full of thoughts right now. The reality is, him not playing means that potentially, and the stats kind of prove it, City might not be as good without him. And if City are not as good, it does maybe give the other teams that are in the race a little chance. But all you can do is win your games.
Margins.
All we can do is win our games. With Rodri or without, you could argue that even if Kovacic goes there or John Stones, that 11 is still good enough to beat any team in Europe, let alone in the Premier League. So they'll suffer without him massively because of how important he is, especially in cups and finals and quarterfinals. He comes up with the goods. So, yeah, like you say, it's he's going to be gutted right now. But the reality is, Liverpool and Arsenal won't use that at all, but they'll understand that, okay, let's really give this a push now.
Yeah, just looking at some of the upcoming games for Manchester City in the Premier League, they go away to Newcastle on Saturday. That's not an easy game.
Kind of game.
The type of game where Rodri really when you need a Rodri 12:30 kickoff in Newcastle. They've also then followed that up with a home game against Fulham. Manchester City go to Wolves as well. I mean, listen.
And they're in Bratislava in amongst all of that in the Champions League.
Bratislava, they've got to go to Sporting as well. You know what I mean? There are no easy games, as we know, in the Premier League or in the Champions League, but it's a big miss when you're missing your talisman player like Rodri. And Pep Guardiola does always kind of opt for these quite small squads. Yeah. You do run the risk.
Don't forget, Gundogan.
Gundogan's back in there now.
He's another option.
Gundogan's back in there now, but still not that Rodri, is it? It's still not Rodri.
No, I mean, you've had it with Thomas Partey. He's maybe a little bit past his prime, but there was a period where he was on fire. We've had it with Fabinho,
it was a big miss.
Where Fabinho, in his pomp for 18 months, I mean, he was
had it
up
when
there,
Van
top
Dijk. You had it
three
when
in the
Van
world
Dijk
in
was
that
out
position.
for, you know what I mean? Because
Van Dijk was out. I do think some comfort that Rodri can take is that if you look at someone like Van Dijk, who a lot of people doubted him on his return, he's now firmly back on top of his game, even at 33. So Rodri can go, well, look, if he can do it, I can get through it.
Yeah, but I think there's no doubt that Rodri...
Tough, though, man.
I don't think there's no doubt that Rodri can get back on his game because, the type of player and mentality he is, he said in his interview the other day how it's all about football for him. However, I'm just saying that, when Van Dijk was out, that was a big blow for you guys and you suffered.
Yeah, big time.
When Thomas Partey was out for an extended period, we suffered at Arsenal, right? It's remained to be seen how badly Manchester City are going to suffer now by having one of the world's best players missing from their team. And it could be as much as a whole season. Certainly, it's not looking like it's going to be anything that's going to get him back this side of Christmas. So,
just before we go, I wanted to ask you this. Do you think if you are an Arsenal, a Liverpool, a City, the top elite European teams that are going for European titles, etc., would you say that in today's game, the CDM or the holding midfielder is the most important role in the team?
It is definitely one of the most important roles.
But where would you rank it, though? Obviously, goalkeeper.
I'd rank it up there. I say goalkeeper first, striker, then CDM.
Yeah.
And then even then, it depends what system you're playing.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes it can be even more important. But that position is so
important
in a
nowadays.
3
with one sitter.
Yeah, and especially when you rely on a possession-based game, I think it's a very, very important role. And this is going to be a massive miss for Manchester City. So let me just repeat it again. The news that's breaking today is that following that injury in the game yesterday against Arsenal for Manchester City of Rodri, he went down and it's looking like it's very serious and that he could miss the whole season. You say you got another tweet there?
Yeah, Fabrizio, I guess just backing up what's already been said, but he says Rodri will undergo more tests in the next hours, but City expect him to miss the remainder of the season.
Yep.
So they've resigned themselves to
and
the fact that he will be
ESPN
gone.
also reported that as well. It's that ACL injury, cruciate ligament, and it looks like
nasty when it happened.
Yeah, and it looks like, and you could see he was in distress. And one of the best players in the world is going to be out for the season. How big a blow will that be to Manchester City's title hopes and Champions League hopes? We will have to wait and see. Does that help the chances of all the other teams around them, like Arsenal, like Liverpool, Chelsea's, etc.? Again, only the season will be able to find out, but certainly it's a big blow to Manchester City and all Manchester City fans. Rodri out, by the looks of it, for the season with the ACL injury. Thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe here to DR Sports for all breaking news, and get well soon to Rodri.